welcome to our conversation with Ram Mammadov. Thank you very much for joining us on Turkish-American TV. Ram Mammadov is a descendant of Holocaust survivors. His grandparents settled in Azerbaijan after fleeing their homeland when the Nazis invaded in World War II. Ram was born in Baku, Azerbaijan in 1980. He grew up hardworking to a humble family. After graduating from public high school in 1997, he was admitted to Baku State University. In 2001, Ram graduated from university and all by himself at the tender age of 21. In just a few weeks following the 9/11 tragedy, Ram immigrated to the United States, where he wanted to achieve the American dream. In the spring of 2021, Ram announced his candidacy for the U.S. House of Representatives from the great state of North Carolina, and he joins us today for a conversation. Thank you for joining us, Ram. Welcome. How are you doing?
Thank you, Erkan. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers. Cheers. So, Ram, your journey in coming to America and becoming not just a citizen, but now a congressional candidate is remarkable in many ways. It's also a very markedly and unique American story. America is a nation of immigrants and a broad tapestry of cultures and diversity. What was it that drew you to the United States?
Thanks for that question. As you said, the United States has always been a country of immigrants. What's been driving me since day one, why I've been drawn to the United States, is because anybody can achieve anything, absolutely. As an immigrant yourself, you grew up here, right? You know that these kind of possibilities are limited here, right? And you can absolutely achieve anything without any connections, without knowing anybody, right? You can become anything you want, right? If you have that drive for knowledge, right? The hunger for knowledge, hunger for experience, right? If you gain experience, you gain the knowledge. If you study, you can achieve absolutely everything, and that is amazing. That's the only country in the world, I would say, that where any immigrant can achieve that. And as you said, my American dream, I've achieved my American dream.
It's great to see. Did you feel welcome when you first came? I mean, it was a tender time in American history. You know, lots of tumult, of course, just on the heels of 9/11. And here you are coming in from a part of the world not many people in America might know. What were some of the difficulties and challenges that you faced during that time period?
Absolutely. It was a very difficult time, extremely difficult. The entire country was shocked, basically, by horrific events of 9/11. Something that the country has not experienced before. It was a terrible time. It was a very scary time. And I came shortly after 9/11, and obviously coming predominantly from the Muslim country. I went through some difficult times here. First thing I experienced at the airport, where, for example, standing in the line going through the security checkup, randomly the security personnel might have approached you, and they approached me asking for check my passport, check my visa, and I'm standing like, why me? Like, what did I do? Right? What is the red flag? But I did not, I did not throw the attitude. I did not argue. I knew that the country is going through a difficult time, and it's better to cooperate, right? So I just, as a law-abiding person, I showed my passport, everything checked out. They looked at me and said, "Oh, everything's fine." So, but you could see that my complexion itself could draw some attention at that time. When I started working, for example, I settled in Michigan. I was working. My first job was working for Detroit popcorn factory. I started basically next day after coming to the United States. And one of the first questions I was asked by one of them was, "Are you an Arab?" Again, I did not take that personally. Right. I knew that the entire country is going through the painful process. There's so much unknown in the air. The whole country, the notion was that Islamic world, has attacked the United States, right? So, and anybody with a dark skin complexion could have been perceived as an Arab, right? So that was the first question people asked me, are you an Arab? Right? You could see that little bit of emotion in that question, right?
So there was a little bit of, it's safe to say there was a little bit of maybe misunderstanding, naivety as to your heritage. Now, part of your heritage, of course, is that your grandparents were Holocaust survivors. Can you talk a little bit about how maybe that prepared you or fortified you or gave you insight in how to deal with some of the struggles of immigrating at such a historically trying time?
The history of my family also prepared me for that. Right? A history of 3,000 years of Jewish history, being first persecuted by Egyptian pharaohs, right, and then Roman Empire, then Nazi Germany. It has prepared me for difficult situations. That there might be a situation where you might be discriminated, right? You might be seen by somebody differently from others, right? So that has prepared me also emotionally, and I knew that coming by myself alone, right, through the difficult times to the United States, I might experience some challenges, some road bumps along the road, right? But the way I prepared myself to be tolerant those circumstances, right? To be tolerant, because people need to be, again, when people ask you that type of question or express that kind of emotion, they gotta have to be educated in a certain way, right? So I prepared myself also to be not to be emotionally attached, not to be emotionally driven, but think rationally and help somebody understand the situation, right from wrong. You know what I'm saying? So that was the driven motivation for me back then.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can imagine that tolerance was at the forefront of your mind. Tolerance on your side for the misunderstandings and misconceptions that people might have of you, but also for your own learning process and for the learning process of others, right? To encourage that education that you were saying was such a key component of succeeding in America and being a good American citizen. So cultural and economic and bureaucratic integration also surely presented some unique challenges. Can you share some significant experiences that maybe shaped your life in those arenas of bureaucracy or economic hardship or anything like that? I know you mentioned working at the popcorn factory earlier.
Correct. So I've seen different situations, right? And working that started basically as working for Detroit Popcorn Factory by one of the coworkers. All of a sudden, he said that I'm gonna start calling you Jose. I'm like, okay, what's wrong with my name, right? And back then I didn't know that he was trying to make fun of me, that all you immigrants, and that I found out later on, that all you immigrants are basically the same, and the way they call it Jose, it's like using towards the the Mexicans trying to insult, right? So calling them everybody Jose. Then after that, when I was working, for example, I'll give you another example, working as a dishwasher for one of the local restaurants. One of the bus boys who was working there, he was an elderly man. He said that, Ram, don't have a high hopes that you're gonna achieve something in this country. You're gonna be washing dishes for the rest of your life. Nobody needs you here. You're just another immigrant. You're not gonna even be. You won't be able to get a driver license. And back then, I was in the process of getting driver license because, first of all, my English was not that good, right? So I was taking some English classes to pass the test, the driving test, right? To understand, first of all, the rules and everything. So I was in the process of getting driver license. And I remember he making fun of me, saying that for the rest of your life, you will be working here as a dishwasher. You won't achieve anything. So that gave me that economic, social disparities, that gave me the inspiration and motivation to, first of all, prove to others that they're wrong and you can absolutely achieve anything you want. As I said, you can achieve anything you want in this country if you have your mind through. If you set your mind through, if you have the stamina to overcome all these obstacles, overcome the challenges, you can achieve absolutely everything.
It seems like you took away some gems in terms of your experiences and what you've learned from there. So after setting down some roots here in the U.S., though, who were some influential people or members of your community once you started to get settled that maybe directed you to your current path?
That's a great question. Growing up in an immigrant community, I could see that there's so many members of the immigrant community, hardworking members of the immigrant community, that they don't cut the corners, right? They work hard, they study, they get the higher education to achieve their American dream, regardless of their background, regardless where they come from. But they take it step by step to achieve their American dream, and that was the inspiration for me. Don't stop at anything. Don't let anybody get you down.
Were there any standout individuals that left a unique imprint on you during that process during that period of your life?
One of the members of the community that I was actually working with, that individual as well. He was washing dishes just like me, but he said, "Ram, I wanna become a doctor, a dentist." Right? So he took actual evening classes while working at the dish. He took evening classes. It was something completely new for him. He took some evening classes to achieve his American dream. And right now, as I know, in Michigan itself, he's working he's a very successful dentist. So he also gave me that kind of inspiration that all the challenges that we're facing right now, they are temporary. They can be as temporary as you want them to. Gain knowledge, gain expertise, and
Absolutely.
move on to the next step. Continuously growing. You know what I'm saying? So that gave me huge inspiration.
So I understand you interned for Carl Levin. Can you talk a little bit about what kind of experience that was and how he maybe impacted your perspective?
He changed the entire course of my life. The first time I met him, so when I was admitted to the Michigan State University, it was back in 2005. And I remember him coming to the university, giving a speech in front of students, where I was standing among them, and I was amazed by the way he was presenting himself, being a senator, but being so humble. So I had an opportunity to intern for him, for Carl Levin in his Lansing office in the summer of 2006. It was an amazing time. I learned so much from that. I gained so much experience, and I learned so much from him. And I remember having a conversation with him one day when we were talking about, this and that, about everything, about nothing. And as a joke, I remember saying that, Senator, maybe one day I'll become a representative or a senator. And he looked at me seriously, saying that, young man, why not? He called me young man back then. He said, "Young man, why not? I think you should." Pretty seriously. I'm like, "Senator, no, I'm just joking. I don't think I have what it takes, to serve people." He asked me, like, very seriously, he asked me, "What do you think that takes to be a representative, to represent people? What do you think that takes?" Very simple question, right? It seemed like a simple question, but it was a very rhetorical question. But I remember back then I stumbled. I didn't know what to answer. I'm like, "Senator, I don't know. It takes experience. It takes knowledge. I don't know." Right? I couldn't know how to answer that question. And I remember him shaking his head, not in disappointment, but
Right.
it was kind of disapproval. Right? And he said, "Young man, here's your first political lesson. All it takes to serve communities, all you need to serve communities is your heart. All you have to do is care for others. And everything else that you mentioned, experience, knowledge, it will follow. But if you don't have heart, if you don't have your mind to serve people, if you don't have the kindness, if you don't have the care, if the care is not your moving part, everything else will fall apart.
Right.
Your experience and knowledge will fall apart. The first thing that you need is to care. And I remember that was my first life lesson. Even now, I still use in my professional, in my personal life. The word care comes about everything. It's number one word. Everything I do in my life, I do with care. Not because I'm forced to do that, not because that I'm doing the force. I really, really care. But when I do something, I really want that it's coming from my heart. So that was inspiration for me.
Can you talk a little bit about how that compassion for your community helped you kind of outside of your political aspirations, maybe find some more stability or find your place and your niche in the community?
Back then I remember I started getting involved in Michigan itself. I started getting involved with the communities that had a desperate need for help. And as an immigrant myself, I remember when I came to the United States, when I needed help, certain doors were shut right in front. When I was seeking help, and people who could have helped, they were not motivated to help. And so that gave me an inspiration even back then, saying that, you know what, when I'm at the position when I can help, I will definitely do that, because knowing from my personal experience, and my empathy comes from that person. And I remember getting involved with the communities, communities that are low-income communities that needed help in the different areas: education, housing, economic perspective, understanding the needs of the communities. And even today in North Carolina, what I see today, what drove me into politics is the current situation, right, where we are with our only 58%. In North Carolina population, to give an example, is 10.49 million people in North Carolina. 58% of that population does not have the college education. It is unacceptable. This day and age, it is unacceptable. We are number 30 in healthcare, 42 in economic opportunities. All that, understanding the needs of the communities, that's what that drives me through to make some changes, to bring the changes to the community. And as I said, my empathy comes from my own experience.
Absolutely.
When I was without education, I was growing up without education, without housing, without health care. I even lived as a homeless person for a short period of time in Detroit. I was a homeless person. You know what I'm saying? So understanding all that, the needs of the community, that gave me that inspiration.
Yeah, and you represent, and not just represent, but you're kind of, as we alluded to earlier, you're kind of living the American dream in many ways, in many senses. But what does the American dream mean to you? How do you see American consciousness and presence in the current moment, and how do you see it changing in the future?
Equal opportunity. Okay, so for me to have the American dream should be based on equal opportunity. I always said that, I don't need, I speak from my own experience. I always said that I don't need no pity from government, no charity from government. All I'm asking for equal opportunity in education, equal opportunity in housing, equal opportunity in economic aspects for jobs, equal opportunity in racial justice, equal opportunity in justice. And the question is, am I asking too much? Is it too much to ask for our society, for our community? Right? Where every single person has equal opportunity, just like anybody else. Right? So that's the main thing for me personally. As an American, for me, when I say I achieve my American dream, I have my family, right? I have my job, I have my house, right? So to me, it is already, I have achieved my American dream, and I want to make sure that the same opportunities are presented for others, where people, everybody can have what they dream about, right? To achieve what they dream about, if they have an equal opportunity.
Well, thank you very much, Ram. We're so glad to have you. we wish you best fortune in your candidacy. Thank you for sharing your time with us. It was great talking with you. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Cheers,
Thanks
Ram.
for the opportunity.
Thanks for watching Turkish American TV. Goodbye.